Find a place of respect and support, and don't take that bullshit.
Don't put yourself on a different level than men, not lower, not higher. We should all be equal.
Instead of being the muse, we are the artist and the muse. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
You desire the change and you put that forth out into the industry, that's going to happen.
Hi everybody and welcome to Beyond Tattooing, a format where we discuss widely requested topics with renowned artists and other players of the tattoo industry. I'm Chris Okapi from Cheyenne and today I'm here with Felix Marmann, CEO of STYNG. His startup is already stirring up the tattoo industry and, like Cheyenne, it's trying to change the old ways of doing things by disrupting the market with innovative ideas. But before you check them out, let's talk with our guests about today's exciting topics. So, welcome, Felix.
Hi, Chris, and hi, everybody. At this format, we always talk about one interesting or controversial question. So today's topic is the topic of female tattooers. We want to shed some light on the topic of gender equality in the tattoo world, look at the progress that has been achieved in the past, analyze the status quo, and also reflect on the progress that still needs to be done.
In general, this is a topic that requires constantly willing to learn. And of course, we know that our point of view will never be the same like the point of view of female tattoo artists.
So that's why we invited some amazing guests to our show today. They're here to share their experience with us, their views on this topic. And so we are looking forward to a lot of listening and learning. And we hope for an open discussion with you, our viewers. So get in touch with us. And then collectively, we can make more progress on that topic. So let's jump right in with our first guest. She's a female artist specializing in neo-traditional artwork, very strong art, beautiful colors. And she's also an entrepreneur. She has an online shop where she's selling her own clothing lines, some jewelry, some pins, and also prints, tattoo prints. And we are very excited to have her on the show and to get her point of view on this topic. So welcome, Jen.
Hi.
Hi, Jen. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. So, Jen, just to introducing you for people who might not know you. So, your style is neo-traditional and you've been tattooing since how long?
6 years now.
6 years. And you're here based in Berlin. But I think the big question at the moment is how did you get into tattooing? What was the drive to bring you into tattooing? Was it come from the art side, or were just interested getting tattooed and then you thought, oh, that would be a great career?
Well, I think I just, sometimes I say I just came out of the womb of my mom with a pencil. I was always drawing. And obviously in school at one point you start to think, where am I going to go in my life? What is my career gonna be? What do I want to become? And I was interested in tattoos very early because I was also a lot on concerts and in the whole hardcore scene. And yeah, I think around 15, I was okay, that's it. I'm becoming a tattoo artist because I want to be covered in them. I want to make them. And I just never let go of that dream. And that was 6 years ago.
The theme we have today, or the episode title, is Female Tattoo Artist. As topic. Is there already a problem in the scene? Is it necessary to say female tattooer or tattoo artist?
In discussions like this, where it's especially about struggles maybe or experience, I guess it's necessary to point it out.
You've been only tattooing for 5 years. I mean, of course, that's a long time already, and your success is tremendous for that amount of time. But do you know, maybe from the exchange with other female artists, what the situation was like back in the days and what has changed until now?
Yeah, I had actually talked to some female artists that are in the industry for like, don't know, 15 or 20 years, and it was definitely different. Like, becoming a tattoo artist as a female back in the days was not normal and not like easy. You kind of had to get into it through, let's say, weird ways, because they would see you as a woman, and that was like a problem. It was a problem that you're a woman and a woman becoming a tattoo artist. What? And nowadays, I mean, we know it's way, way easier. Like, no one is judging you for, like, it's not impossible to become a tattoo artist just because you're a female.
First of all, that's good to hear, right?
Yeah.
That it's changed already to that point that it's not an issue anymore.
Yeah.
From your perspective and your experience.
Is there still barriers or obstacles in the way when, you know, young females decide to become an artist?
Well, I can only talk from my experience, and I know that it almost affected my apprenticeship because I knew about that shop that was looking for apprentices. So I sent my artworks there, and it was only men working there. It was run by 3 guys, the shop. And afterwards, I found out from one of my mentors, basically, that one of the guys was against me becoming an apprentice because he didn't want to have a girl in the shop. But they outnumbered him because the other 2 were like, what, she's good, like, we take her. So yeah, it didn't affect me, but I know there was the chance of me not working there because I'm a woman.
Was that something that you could set aside? You know, was that something that you could like move over?
I don't know. I think I just stood above it because I was like, I'm here and I know why I'm here, because they decided that I am, like, they see potential in my work. So I earned to be here.
We've had this discussion for quite a while now, if it's even legit for us to do this talk, because we are both men. So is that something that you would like appreciate if there was more eager support also from the male side?
I mean, I liked in the beginning you basically said we're here to learn and to listen, and I feel like this is a very important part, to listen to our experience and to learn from that and maybe see where the problems are. And then when you understand them and like really stand behind this whole idea of supporting female, then speak out for them, but not for like, you know, for yourself to like come off as this like kind of hero guy that is doing good for the female world, but just do it because you actually care about it, because you're honest about finding it important that we find support in this topic.
Yeah, what could brands like STYNG and Cheyenne, what could brands do to empower women more in this industry? Do you have any advice for us?
I feel like it's not like as bad as it used to be for female artists, but also I am in a shop that has mainly women working there. So I feel like it's very present for me that women are in this industry. And so obviously I'm not experiencing any trouble with that right now in my shop. And also I didn't have many problems in the past with it, but I guess others have other experience. So it's obviously important to support them.
Is there any advice you could give us, like men in the industry, how we should be more aware of to make female tattooers feeling more comfortable?
Listen to her. Like, if a woman is speaking up because she's feeling uncomfortable, she's feeling uncomfortable. Take it serious. Like, we are, as any other person, are just speaking up because we are feeling something that is negative. So take it as we say it, and then have an open discussion about it. Maybe listen to what she has to say, why she is feeling uncomfortable.
Do you maybe have other examples of dynamics in the industry that is not obvious to male artists or to male members of the industry that we could put out there, use this platform to communicate it to the world, to have a learning mechanism?
Well, I can speak from like one experience basically that I had. I got tattooed at a very young age. I think I was like just 18 or something, and I wasn't like the like very outgoing person, like to stand my ground and say my opinion. So and also you're very intimidated, obviously, at like getting your first tattoos, being in this shop, and they're like all these crazy tattoo artists that have been doing it for so long. And I got it on an intimate spot, and I basically asked if I could have something to cover myself. And the response was, oh, I've been in this industry for so long. I've seen so many women, like female bodies. I don't care. Looking back now, it's not about him not caring. It's about me caring. And actually thinking back, I shouldn't even have to ask for this. Like, it should be the basic to offer me something to cover myself, especially he's a male artist. Maybe I don't want to show my body.
Yeah, I think there's still so much to learn because, as I said,
Absolutely.
From the male point of view, it's like sometimes really hard to even see things that you experience in your day-to-day life. And so we would encourage everybody to also read up on this, educate yourselves, talk to other people on that matter, and then we can all grow together and become more aware of problems. So as our last question, is there any advice you would like to give any female tattoo artists that are looking to start a career in the industry?
If you feel mistreated, speak up. And if they don't listen and don't respect you, leave, because you don't have to be there. Like, you will find your place, find a place of respect and support, and don't take that bullshit. You don't need that. Definitely not.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Jen. This was really insightful. Thanks for being so open about it. And,
sure.
We see you in a bit for the group discussion.
Yeah, see you later.
Thank you, Jen. See you later.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
I think we're going straight forward to our next guest, Trudy Lines. Really good friend of mine from Austria. She's now working at Bang Bang, New York.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Hi, guys. How are you?
Great.
Good so far.
Thanks.
Till now we are good.
How did you get into tattooing in the first place?
I was always in art. I did like a college for graphic and communication design before. And then after this, I studied art history at the university in Vienna. And during the university, I was kind of like bored and I need to like have another challenge or like a new challenge in my life. And I wanted to do something more creative. Yeah. So one day I just decided to draw tattoo designs for friends. And then I realized that like all the designs that I did and all the tattoo artists who tattooed my designs on my friends, they did not change it up at all. Like, they used exactly the drawing I used. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do that too. And then I just applied for an apprenticeship in Austria. And yeah, they liked my work, they liked my drawings. And that's how I started.
And the rest is history.
Simple.
Maybe starting at the very beginning, do you think the term female tattooers for this show is even, for this episode, is even correct? Because should it be even a topic? Shouldn't we speak just about tattooers and not female tattooers to in that matter?
Yeah, I think we're like all equal. And I think this is very important. But it's the name. We are female tattoo artists, and that's it. And I'm used from the German language. So for me, it's nothing like special. I think it's something necessary.
When you look at the tattoo world, looking at the past especially, and comparing it to the status quo, what differences do you see? Are there any? Did we make progress until here? And how much more progress do we have to make?
Tattooer are not just tattoo anymore. It's more you are a tattoo artist, or you're a female tattoo artist. So I feel like the art is more involved, and it gets more and more involved and more important and more like in the front. And in art, in general, I think there is not such a big gap between male and female. And since it's more like accepted as an art industry, I think the gap closes slowly, if that makes any sense. So I think we're doing a pretty good job. Like, not a pretty good job, we're doing definitely, there is progress, not enough, but still.
Yeah, for us, when we discussed about making an episode like this, it was like really hard to making a decision to make it because we were even afraid of some wordings.
It's a sensitive topic, but everything when it comes to religion, when it comes to race, when it comes to gender, they're like sensitive topics, but I don't think that there should be unspoken topics or taboo topics, right? I think it's important to talk about it. I personally have so many of my best friends or coworkers are male or are men in the industry or outside the industry. And I never had a problem with like inequality. But I do feel it sometimes, especially when you when you were on conventions, right? And let's say back in the days, you're on conventions and the artists sit together after the shows and you introduce yourself as that person, but you don't say you're a tattoo artist. So I really felt that very often that people assumed that I am a wife or a girlfriend of one of the famous tattoo artists. But I don't think that this is more like, oh, you are a woman, you can't tattoo like male or like we do. I think it's more because it's such a male-dominated industry. So I wish we could have more women in the industry, more artists, and yeah.
So what are maybe measures that we can collectively as an industry take to empower more women to take that step to become a professional artist?
Just be yourself and don't put yourself on a higher level as a woman, or especially not on a lower level. Like, we're all equal, and yeah, and I think if this is the rule, you will go far. And if you just stay true to yourself and keep working hard, you won't feel a difference or be treated differently than a male in the industry. I think like when we talk about like female tattoo artists and females in the industry, there is a very, very like sensitive line between tattoo models and tattoo artists and female tattoo artists. Sex sells. And I think if you are a female tattoo artist in the industry, you need to be careful how you gain or what respect you want to have in the industry. Do you want to be a tattoo model? Do you want to be like that beautiful female object that people just like hype for their look and for their beautiful tattoos that you're wearing, where there's nothing wrong with that? Or do you really want to be like known or respected, not for your look and the art you carry, more the art you make? Female tattoo artists can be beautiful and can be a tattoo model as well, right? But like, make a difference and like respect them for the art that they're wearing, how they look, but also respect them for their work.
The outer looks of a woman shouldn't play into this, into the judgment
Correct.
of her work, right? So work is work and art is art, and that should be like the only basis for discussion, right? And not like the female as this this visual
to
object
dress a certain way.
Yeah,
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
like gender roles in society, like there are so many expectations that the society have from women, and I think like these expectations there should be not different expectations from women and from men.
Anything you want to give some advice to some young artists that are thinking about starting this industry? Anything you want to shout out? Take
every opportunity you can take. Don't use the we women, don't get me wrong, like we have power and we can use our power, but like don't use the power of a woman intentionally. Don't put yourself on a different level than men, not lower, not higher. We should all be equal. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Trudy.
It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This format is a first pilot, so please get in touch with us on social media and tell us what you think about the content and the format itself. We would love to engage in discussion with you. If you want to talk about the show online, you can do so by using the hashtag #BeyondTattooing. And our next guest is Ccyle. Hi, Ccyle.
Hey. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah, so Ccyle, maybe you could give us a short introduction about yourself. Like, when did you start tattooing? What was the drive that you started to design and start tattooing?
Sure. So I started tattooing about 7 years ago. I started my apprenticeship in Australia for about 2 years, and then I moved back to Europe. So I had a taste of Australian tattoo world and European tattoo world, and I must say that I felt a lot more welcoming towards women in Australia. But we'll talk about this later. I never even considered being a tattoo artist before. I have a master's degree in business, which is totally different from what I'm doing now. And then, it became a love story that, I started drawing every day and developing my own style. And at this moment, I was also a stripper in Australia. So I was stripping on the weekend and tattooing in the weekdays. And I think all this mixed together, the sex work and the tattoo world, brought me to the style I have today. I was always surrounded with very, very strong, beautiful women using their femininity as a tool, as a power for men. And they were also empowered and inspiring. And that's probably why I started drawing all these badass women, like for me, women are badass in general. And I used to draw a lot as a young girl, and a lot of women. I was already obsessed with women. Also naked women. I mean, I remember, it was already pretty X-rated. Yeah, so it was always really this, but then tattooing really brought me to this direction. And also the environment I was in Australia, it's very open-minded, the night world and everything, it all mixed up. That's the recipe of my style, I guess.
You would probably consider yourself not especially as female tattooer, but as a tattooer itself. Or what is your thinking about that?
Yeah, sure. I definitely see myself more as a tattooer than a female when it comes to work, and I feel like your work speaks for itself rather than who is behind it. When you watch a tattoo, when you look at a tattoo, you don't really look at who's done it. If it's a girl, if it's an old guy, if he's cute, I don't really care. I just want a cool tattoo. So I feel like this is the probably what most people think. Then, of course, unfortunately, there's a lot of women that prefer to be tattooed by women. Because they don't feel comfortable getting tattooed by men, but I never personally felt this way. And I've been tattooed by a lot of men that always made me feel really, really comfortable. So I feel like, it doesn't really matter, who is the sex of who's doing it.
What can male artists do to make female clients feel comfortable? What are the things that may be scary for young girls when getting tattooed, and how to maybe address those things?
Personally, I'm lucky because I've been surrounded with amazing men and really open-minded, and I always careful with the shops I guest at, and I always try to pick the shops that are open-minded and very tolerant, and usually it's more it shows with the art. I mean, you can't really know, but most of the time it shows with the art. But this is my personal experience. Now, for me, this is a problem linked to an older generation that probably feel unreachable, untouchable, and think that all newcomers have something to prove, and it applies to men, but also mostly to women, because it's a very misogynic generation, in my opinion. I feel like it's more of an older generation problem. When I was in Australia, the fact that I used to be a stripper never ever was a problem in this industry of tattooing. I've always been proud of it. I've never had been ashamed of my past, of anything I've done. I've done a lot of things in my life. I don't have to prove anything. And in Australia, I was pretty well seen. But when I came to France, I realized that it was not something I should show off, not something I should tell them, because all the very settled guys and all the guys of this industry don't see it well, especially when you're a newcomer. You know, you might be judged for what you used to be or what you do, or it applies also for a lot of my coworkers that started tattooing after being a tattoo model on Instagram. So they have a lot of very sexy pictures, and because of that, they will have a lot of judgment from other male artists. I mean, I've witnessed a few times like this, a male artist putting other women down because they are posing sexy on Instagram, which doesn't determine if they are good artists or not, in my opinion.
Could you compare what the past was like, what the status quo is like, and then also extrapolating into the future, what still needs to be done, what are still the missing pieces to really achieve gender equality?
What it used to be an industry led by men is a total different industry now, because the tattoo industry is 100% determined by social media. And nowadays, social medias are made by women. Let's be honest, most of influencers are women. All the most liked pictures are women. You know, it's very, very powerful tool for women. And I think we are definitely winning, you know, now with social media. And I've read a little bit of documentation before, and I see that women are not only more popular on social media, but are also a lot more active. They spend more time every day on social media. So it's customers that are mostly women that will interact more with you, that would spend more hours looking at your work. And I think this is why everything is changing now, because there is a lot more women tattoo artists, but also a lot of women tattooed girl and customers, you know. So at the end, I think it's going to work out really good for us. We just have to wait and be patient. We're going to conquer the world.
When you talked about you come back to France and thought that you have to hide some parts of your past, is there like something about educating or wording male part of the industry could be more aware of, to not giving anybody the feeling that, even if it's a female artist or not male artist, to hiding anything personal?
So of course women have to prove more, and then about the past, you know, it's things that this generation cannot understand. In my opinion, I feel like there's a big gap of generation. You know, me working in a club, it's something that 50 years old might not understand. When my generation today, we see ass literally every minute on Instagram, on Twitter. It's just, the world is ruled by ass, boobs, and sexuality. It's here every day. You open your phone, your TV, it's here everywhere. And we are probably more conscious about that and embracing it a bit more and more open to talk about it. So I feel this is where the gap of generation is really obvious.
Do you see any chance for them to be educated in that way, or do you think, no, this is a lost cause anyway, we just have to wait for it to run over?
I wish we could change it, you know, I really wish, but I feel like once you've been passed by the evolution of social media, if you're out of the social media, then it's really hard to keep up with what's going on in the world. And for example, I love my parents dearly, but they are so disconnected with my generation. They are very connected with internet and very smart with all this, but with what my generation see every day and what we live is so different from their reality, because now we have a total reality that is completely made on internet and that has nothing to do with the real life. You know, we have to show, we have to look, we have to, I mean, most of women tattoo artists now, we use ourselves as a great marketing tool, you know, like when I post a picture of me, it works really, really good because, you know, we pose, we look good, we want to show confidence in our tattoos, fully body tattoos. It sells, you know, people love that. And we are aware of that, and we don't fear the judgment of other older tattoo artists, because I remember maybe 5 years ago, it was always a problem when I would post a picture of me. I would feel like I am not legit as an artist, that, you know, because they would make me feel like that. But it's not the case anymore. Now more and more women do it. You know, I mean, if you look in art, women has been the main topic of all art since the beginning of art. I mean, especially naked women, you know, the nudity has been, and the sexuality around women has been inspiring generations of artists. But now we are finally, instead of being the muse, we are the artist and the muse. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know there's still a really long way to go, right? And for brands, networks, especially for young brands like your ones and also Cheyenne. So what you would like to wish to see from brands like STYNG or Cheyenne to bringing a little bit more change in the industry?
Well, I'm still waiting for my pink Soul Nova, but I don't know if that's happening. Also, you can think about bedazzling your machine with glitters, would be really cute. But apart from that, jokes apart, I must say that with Cheyenne, I always felt a very strong feminine presence in your team, you know, like since I've been working with you guys and joining your team, I felt a very strong woman around me, and it's been really a great experience. So I don't really see anything that needs to be changed. I feel like you're doing already great. I mean, this is amazing to have this conversation with you guys today.
We are more than happy to hear that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Ccyle. We will see you in the group discussion a little later.
Awesome. I can't wait.
But this was really enlightening. Thank you so much for these insights. It was great having you on the show.
Sounds great. Thank you guys.
Perfect.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye. And now we have with us Kari Barba.
Hi, Kari.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good.
How are you guys doing today?
Great, thank you.
Pretty good so far. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. It's good to see you both.
So, Kari, you are really like a legend in the tattoo industry. Can you say that? This is your 42nd year of tattooing on 1st of April, I think. So you've seen it all. You've been there, done that. You're a realistic artist. Lots of black and gray. Really strong art. I really enjoy your Instagram feed. So yeah, maybe you can tell us a bit about how that happened. What's your story? How did you get into tattooing?
Oh gosh, it's funny because I have 42 years. It's a long time actually tattooing, but when I first was approached with the idea of tattooing, I didn't really know anything about tattooing. So for me, it was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that, but I didn't even see my first tattoo till I was 17 years old. And this guy had a, deck of cards kind of on the forearm, just the 4 spades, right? And it was so bad, and it was so badly done. And that was the only reference I had at the time, at 17. So I was kind of like, oh my God, that's horrible. I wonder why people would do that. I didn't understand because the tattoo was so bad, right? And then, fast forward a couple of years, we had moved into a duplex, and one of the neighbors happened to be a tattoo artist. So my downstairs neighbor was working in the local shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Neil Grant is his name. And, we started befriending him. And at the time, I was married to a man, and he was wanting to get tattooed. He wanted to get a sleeve. So he started, going in and getting more and more work from Neil. And through the course of that, he would come home and I would be kind of like, oh my God, that's not laid out very well, and I don't know anything about tattooing, but in my current time, it didn't look to flow too well to me, so I was like, I don't know what to do. So Neil was a friend. So we kind of said, how about this? How about this? And he goes, well, why don't you just draw it on there and just take a pen and draw it on, shave them, clean them, send them down, and I'll tattoo it. And I thought, okay, I'll try, so I did that. I started drawing on like dragon and flames and things like that, sent him down to get tattooed. So finally Neil says, I don't know why you just don't do this yourself. You should just learn to tattoo. And I said, I don't know if I want to learn to tattoo. I said, I didn't know anything about it. So I started looking a little more into it and thought, okay, I'll give it a try. I want to see how it feels.
I can imagine that it was definitely different back then to be a female tattoo artist, right? So maybe you could talk a bit about that, how your gender affected your journey. Were there any, obstacles when starting off, etc.?
Growing up, I was raised mostly by my father. My mother and father had split very young. So my dad never said to me, oh, women or girls can't do that. That never crossed my mind. And I had, one older brother and several sisters. So it was always very shared in our family that the women did all the same thing, or the girls did all the same thing that the guys did. There wasn't any, prejudice of any kind there, or any words from my dad. So when I got into tattooing, didn't even cross my mind that it was male dominated. Never even thought about it, and I just started doing it at first. And then, going forward a little bit, actually being in a shop is when I started to have the situations arise, where guys had come in and they, at that time, you're talking back away. So we're not talking now where they look you up on the internet. They come in the shop, they look through the photo albums, and they're looking at flash on the wall, and they choose the artist they want to get tattooed by, first of all, by whose time it was, like whose turn it was for the day. Everybody went in turn. You didn't get to come in generally and say, hey, I want Kari to do it, or I want Bill to do it, or whatever. It was like, okay, Bill's up, it's his turn, you go, and it was just like that. And sometimes at the time, somebody would do the outline and somebody else would do the color, so somebody put in the outline, I'd color it. But this one guy came in, he's looking through the photo album and he says, this is who I want to do my tattoo. And I wasn't busy. So I walked up and I said, okay, that'd be great. What are you looking to do? And he's like, oh, no, ain't no chick gonna tattoo me, And I said, well, you did choose my photo album. If you want this work, I'm the one who did it. And he's like, no chick's gonna tattoo me, So that was my first experience with that. And, things like that happened often. I didn't have any problem being hired. That wasn't a problem for me. I was very fortunate that at the beginning, the guys who hired me, Fat Mike and Fat George, two different shops, I was just working weekends at the time, but they didn't have any problem with me being a woman either. So for me at the time, I think it was fairly easy until things like that started to happen. When I started going to conventions, I started having, guys, it's difficult to say this these days because I still know some of these men, but at the time they were like, girls shouldn't be tattooing. Very few of them, but some of them did. Most of them would not say it out loud, but just thought it. So the road for me was not as hard as many. Many girls who went into shops at that same time, were looked at or brought in just as eye candy. They were kind of there just to draw other people into the shop. They were, only given the bad tattoos, the small tattoos, things of that nature. I didn't have that problem, personally. And then I became very aware of it. And there was very few women tattooing at the time, probably that I was aware of, maybe 10, I began to notice that there was this problem and started to think, okay, we have to try to get some girls in here. Maybe we need to hire some women, but there wasn't any, there wasn't any.
Did you actively do something to foster that development? Did you try to, empower women from your network, talk to them, try to, show them that it's possible to start a career as an artist? Did you do something about this? Did you felt the urge to?
Not so much that I went out and sought that, but I think it kind of happened naturally, at conventions. So my first convention was in 1982 on the Queen Mary. And at that time I met Vivine Lazanga, who was very big in the industry at the time. I had started prior to me, had a couple of years in on me. And so I tried to befriend women like that, just other women, talk to them about what their experiences were and things like that. And again, I still wasn't too aware of the fact that this was such a problem. You know, it comes much later when you start hearing other women's stories and the things they had been through. But I did start to hear a lot of, you know, sexual issues that came up at the time, right? Like, you know, the women were treated very badly. You know, I again was very lucky that that didn't personally happen to me at the time from anyone in the industry, or nothing like that was brought up, but it was definitely a problem for the other women.
Where we're standing now, and what do we have to change in the industry to making sure that everybody feeling comfortable in the industry?
Yeah, a huge part of it, I believe, is just allowing that to happen within your world, you know, your shop, your community that's around you naturally. You know, when I think back to, it was probably in the 80s, and women, a couple girls came in and started applying at the shop and wanting to work at the shop. And I was still married to a man at this time. And I remember this one woman coming in and wanting to work at the shop. And he's like, you know, we can't hire her. She's gay, you know? And I'm like, well, what the hell does that matter? I don't understand. You know, I was very naive as a child, you know, so I wasn't confronted with a lot of different things, you know? So at the time that was kind of a smack in the face to me, kind of like, why is that bad? So I think that the time and the place to change it is exactly what you're doing right here. Like, you're bringing awareness, right? We have to bring awareness, hire women, hire diversity. I don't care what religion, what color, you know, we're a very open shop, and that actually happened organically, but it was what we desired. So if you desire the change and you put that forth out into the industry, that's going to happen. You know, you just have to talk about it and be open. And if you hear negativity, we have to stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for us, it's when we started to talking about an episode like this, we both were also about like, what words do we have to use, or which words shouldn't we use?
Well, there's definitely a change now in vocabulary, right? In more recent words, and as we're coming along, we have to self-educate and teach ourselves and those around us what the proper words are and how to move forth, you know, stopping the separation, you know, but do you feel honored being a woman tattoo artist? Absolutely, you know, but do I recall in times, and I remember in competitions, you know, when I used to, you know, enter a lot of competitions at convention. It was best female tattoo artist, best male tattoo artist. And I'm like, I don't want to win best female tattoo artist. I want to win best tattoo artist, not just females against the other girls. I want to go against everybody, you know. I don't want to be known as the best female or the 5th best or 10th best. You know, people used to say that to me quite often, like, oh, I heard you're the 10th best or the 3rd best. And it's like, girl tattoo artist in the world. And it's like, first of all, where does that come from? And who's separating the men from the women, and why? You know, why is that happening? So it was good to see that start to merge out of that, because that used to get so pissed at that. You know, it used to drive me crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The generations change as we go, right? When I was young, it was a very gentle conversation. It wasn't an angry conversation at the time, but it had been in the past prior to that, way back, not necessarily about tattoo artists, but, you know, about women in general. And it's a very loud conversation now, right? So I think sometimes people hear that, but people hear differently. So depending on who you're speaking to, depends on the voice you need to use. So sometimes you're going to need to use a loud, strong, hard voice, you know, whether it be over Instagram, television, or whatever. And other times you have to speak softly, because if you just communicate softly, they might hear it more than they would if you were angry and yelling. So it depends, you know. I'm generally very soft-spoken, so for me, sometimes that's how it comes across.
There's definitely still a lot of work to do, right? And especially regarding the self-education regarding this topic. What would you wish to see happen in the industry?
You know, we all just hope for equality, right? All across the board. You know, it's that simple. And, you know, most of the businesses are still run by men. I think that women are starting to have their voice and be up and coming in those industries. A lot of women own tattoo shops, whereas, when I came up, that I don't know of any, just allow everybody to grow, and if somebody is holding somebody back because of their gender or otherwise, then, we have to stop that, right? We have to use our voices then. It's been a changing life for all of us, a changing time that, growing from, my time back in the 70s till now, it's a completely different world, completely different. I'm a completely different person. You just, a good example is looking at photos of myself from the time I started tattooing till now. Most people don't even recognize me. And the industry is the same way. So it's just like, let's work on that and let's continue to help it grow and move forward.
All right, Kari, thank you for this interview. We will jump right into the group discussion, but Trudy is still in a business meeting. Yeah, so maybe just going into the group discussion. So hello again.
Hello again.
You saw that we guys are quite nervous a little bit about this topic, or pretty careful, and because it's not an easy topic, especially when it comes to wording and stuff, or bringing awareness into the industry about this topic.
Especially because here you are the enemy. You are No, but I must say, indeed, it is a very tough time for good men nowadays because the cancel culture is very, very rough, especially on Twitter. I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but men have no easy way on Twitter, and all mistakes now are, coming up to the surface. I have a good friend of mine who is really, really talented tattoo artist, and he's doing a lot of sexualizing tattoos as well. And he's telling me that it's very, very difficult for him because whatever tattoo he's gonna do, if it's involving, for example, two lesbians kissing or something like that, can be taken from LGBT plus community and say, why is a cisgender man heterosexual tattooing two lesbian kissing? Or little details like this that can be really, really tricky for men to, for example, tattoo naked women, as a design.
The progress through communication was always a topic, so, how can we talk about this topic in a way that is most useful to the matter at hand?
I think just opening the conversations, if you hear it, feel free to speak out. If you're hearing another male around you talk that way, you have to can you be strong enough to say to that person, this isn't correct, this isn't right, this isn't proper, to honor everybody and let each person be themselves. The equality that we need, not only in our industry, but the entire world is very important. And the only way we can do it is through communication with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like when you're willing to listen to other people, it means you're already one step further in, being open-minded and understanding. I feel like this is the problem of a lot of older men. For me, it always comes back to the boomers, but they are not willing to try to listen and to try to understand the new generations because we have different problems. And especially women, it's pretty crazy to see the evolution of women in society and in the scale of humanity. If you look, we only had the right to vote 50 years ago. Before that, we were less than citizens. We were considered like nothing. So I feel like the improvement is pretty exponential at the moment, and I'm hoping it will just get better with the years because of actions like this. You guys are willing to talk with us, discuss the matter, and if we follow like this, it's just gonna get better. I'm sure about that.
I'm like full with that. Like I'm listening. I'm like, yes, 100%. Like communication. You're opening a chat right now. Like people will obviously be able to comment underneath and say something to this topic. So you are already giving place for discussion. And I feel like listening to people and like really listening, not just be like, yeah, whatever. Okay. And sometimes maybe even not replying, just learning, sometimes we just can learn. We don't always have to say something to it. Sometimes it's more the input and taking it in and reflecting.
Yes, listening, correct, right? Listening.
Yeah, but I feel like also listening is very important, as you said, but I feel like men today have also the need to be active, especially if you have male friends around you or co-workers that behave badly or say bad things about women or about any minority. You need to stand up and, tell them it's wrong, because otherwise nothing's going to change.
Yeah. Yes. Calling people that misbehave towards, doesn't matter if it's clients or whatever, is definitely important.
Yes, we've had to let several people go. Not several, but there's been people in our past. I've had shops for a long time, and some of them have worked for me for a very long time. And things change and people change. And some people don't change with that. And you try to communicate with them and teach them and open their view, but they don't. So we've had to let them go. We just can't have that type of thing in our studio. And if it's uncomfortable for me, it's certainly going to be uncomfortable for somebody else who walks in my studio, because
absolutely,
you can't judge somebody by the way they look and you know nothing about them. And this wrong word at the wrong time hurts people deeply. So it's, speaking up and saying, let's make a change. But I was telling in my individual interview earlier that sometimes a loud voice is necessary, but often some people only hear when it's spoken gently. So some people have to be taken aside and talked to quietly in a friendly manner if it's your friend, not just say, hey, man, you're screwing up, but say, hey, let me explain why this is wrong. And then maybe they'll hear it more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with you. And especially I feel like the weight of words is very important, as you said. I can see some customers, we don't realize what we say, how much it can impact them for the rest of the month or even the year, because they are at very vulnerable moments when they get tattooed. And, someone giving a reflection about their physique or about the appearance can be really, really hurtful. And I know a lot of guys that don't pay attention to these things, but it can really, really trouble, especially women,
I remember times early in my shop when, a nice female would walk into the shop and the guys would just flood to the front, they're just flooding around her. And it's like, you guys, I was the shop owner, so it was easy for me to say, hey, that's enough, stop it, back off. But if this would have been their shop, there would have been a situation, there would have been a problem, the girl's uncomfortable. Back in the day, there was, sexual situations that happened because the women who came into the shop were afraid and they didn't know any better, so they were taken into a private room, said, it's a sterile atmosphere, so you have to take off all your clothes to get your tattoo. It's the way it is. But back then, the women didn't know that could be different. They had no idea. They were scared when they enter a tattoo shop in the first place.
Of course,
they're afraid. So, things like that.
Luckily, the tattoo shops have been changing a lot. I remember 15, 17 years ago when I got my first tattoo. Well, I imagine even before 20, 30 years ago, it just looks like a male den, smell like balls, just like, it's just really, really male exclusivity kind of industry. And now it's so different. Now shops are so different from what it used to be. And it's incredible. There's a huge, huge change, definitely. And I'm really glad for that.
Maybe you can discuss this a bit. Where do you see the industry going? What would be your ideal state? Where do we want to be in 5 years and 10 years from now? And how do we get there?
Well, I think just equality across the board. If we practice it in our own shops and we share it with others that we know, as mentioned over, television or social media, any kind of avenue that we have, then that's going to spread. It will, and we just have to be open and continue and push for complete equality amongst all people.
Exactly.
Even in younger generations, it's a problem, there isn't any specific generation that has problem with this. It has, some of it's geographical, like where you grow up and what you're surrounded by. If you're not confronted with that, like, I had mentioned I hadn't seen my first tattoo till I was 17. well, I didn't know anything about being gay or the possibility of that, right? That was okay, or you could express yourself in that way and be your own person until I was much older. You know, I was probably in my 30s, right?
The generation of today has no excuse not to be aware of that. You have that excuse that information was not reachable back then, but today it's impossible not to cross all these minorities everywhere. You know, it's everywhere on the news, on the phone, on the TV.
Yeah, like you can't tell me you haven't came across any discussions about equality, about like LGBTQ community and all of that. Like, you must be blind and whatever, everything to, or just not have access to newspapers
in the middle of
whatever.
Yeah, in the middle of our country, for instance, in the United States, you know, you got, you know, little pockets where people may still not have communication with that type of situation, you know.
You're right, because I know people of my age, tattoo artists of my age, that have really, really bad speeches and talk really bad about women and have a bad vision about women, especially women, empowered women that would, you know, post sexy pictures on internet. I mean, I've heard some guys dissing them and telling they are worthless because they put pictures naked of them on internet. So what, you know, like, it drives me crazy. And there are so many guys of my age thinking like that. And I'm just, this makes me angry. Huh? But yeah, so it's not just the boomer, of course. I think it's a bigger problem, and it's definitely cultural, educational, systemical. It's a problem that we've had, and it's getting better. I really have faith it's getting better.
Yes, it is.
Do you see any opportunity to educate people outside their filter bubble? Because, you know, of course, I agree with you that in 2021 everybody should be exposed to those information, but maybe there's also people that are simply, you know, in such severe filter bubbles that they are not exposed in the way that we might expect. So do you have any ideas for popping that bubble?
Well, me, if I have one thing to say, is that whatever, everybody is entitled to have an opinion. Everybody is entitled to be sexist. The only thing is, do not speak about it. Do not tweet about it. Do not Facebook about it. Keep your opinion for yourself. Nobody wants to know what you think, how intolerant you are. I mean, if you're sexist, if you can't change your mind, then shut up. That's all I gotta say.
That would be like deleting 50% of social media, right? If people would keep their stupid opinion.
Yeah.
More.
Definitely. You would cut out the majority of people. I am not on Twitter. I haven't really paid attention to that on there, but even on Instagram, and, you know, still like pop into Facebook once in a while, just because, you know, you still have clients coming through on there. And that's still very dominated by generations that's older than you are, right? So you see it quite a bit there, you know, on Facebook, probably just like Twitter. And it's very difficult. And sometimes it isn't the place to have the argument or view your opinion because you can't get your point across that way. You know, it's like texting a message and somebody takes the language long because you can't have the expression, you know, so you can't, you know, be genuine with them and talk to them and explain it. You know, it's just anger. So sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and it's just a waste of time if people aren't even willing to listen at all. If they have their mind set on like, I'm sexist or racist or whatever, as you said before, Ccyle, okay, then shut the fuck up. That's your opinion. But there's no place for that shit. There should be no place for that anymore.
In France, we had a page that's been created on Instagram that reached over 50,000 followers in a few weeks. And it's a page dedicated to pretty much giving the names of tattoo artists that would behave inappropriately or sexual harassment. Or so they're collecting all the witnesses, and the tattoo artists that would have, I don't know, 10, 20 witnesses saying he touched me inappropriately, he said something inappropriate, then they post him. So far, I think they gave 5 different tattoo artists, and it's been like pretty big, you know, especially in the industry in France. I think it's amazing. It was about time, you know, because there is a lot of abuse in this industry, and there's a lot of people that felt safe because they had power, they knew people, contact, network, I don't know what, but now they don't feel safe anymore, and it's so amazing.
Yeah. People like that shouldn't be allowed to tattoo at all. If you harass your customers, get the fuck out of it. Like,
absolutely,
you should never have a customer again.
Yeah, it can't be tolerated. If you have a staff, if you have more tattoo artists in your shop, a lot of people work on their own these days, but, to really know those people and how they work and trust them and trust that they are open-minded and caring about their clients is absolutely true.
It's important also to check on your coworkers, on your other customers. I love to make the other clients feel comfortable. If I go in the room, I will give them a compliment. I will tell them how you're doing, make them comfortable, whatever the situation is in the tattoo shop, because I know how stressful it can be for them, especially
absolutely.
For a woman that is alone getting tattooed by a man. I think having another female presence in the room and being reassuring can be really, really good for that.
Yeah, it softens the moment. And, I don't know what people are doing now, and we can't do this with every single situation, but, keeping things in your shop that you can cover these people as much as needed so they are comfortable, right? Not having them just, being naked and exposed, whether they personally are comfortable or not. Maybe the next person walking in the shop is not comfortable with that. So, we try to be aware of that situation also, having a private room situation or clothes to cover them, things of that nature.
Yeah, or even if you don't have a private room, because we have like one big room, we basically have like walls so we can like movable, those holdable. Yeah. We just put them up. It's like, okay, here's like our private space now. Feel safe here. I will put it up like if you want that, obviously.
You shouldn't feel vulnerable to a point where you're uncomfortable when you're getting your tattoo. That shouldn't happen. So if you're feeling that, it's okay to stop. Whether you want the work or not, if somebody's doing something wrong, you have to be able to have the self-strength to say, no, I'm leaving. I'm done here. I'm going to walk out.
Also, maybe if you get like the inquiry from your customer and you talk about having an appointment and so far, and it's maybe or maybe not even if it's an intimate spot, just in general, be like, hey, like there is the option of putting up, what was the name? Those privacy screens, and be like, hey, we want you to feel as comfortable as possible. And if the person is there, I just always like reassure that he or she is feeling good, and just ask like, are you okay? Is this okay? Are you good with the situation? Do you need anything? Tell me, like, anytime if you need anything at all.
It's very important to always welcome them with a big smile, make them feel like this is going to be your best session of the month, whatever tattoo it is. I think it's very important.
Spread the word and eliminate that possibility, that closing of the door with just the guy and the girl in there, and that guy, that dominant feeling somehow has to be taken away. And, part of that is conversation with the girl, making sure she is completely comfortable and aware that, is she comfortable with this person? Is she having a good experience? Even if she hasn't started yet, you can have the conversation prior.
It's a very small industry. We all know who's the sleazy guys or who's not, like especially the people doing tattoo conventions. We can easily spot them after a few drinks. So I feel like if you're a shop owner and you don't take into consideration these facts, then that's the problem. Then you're guilty as well. Yes, sorry, we almost forgot about you guys.
That's totally okay.
That's the best thing that could have happened. Awesome.
That's what they wanted.
This was totally meant to
these are actually
be this way.
Cardboard cutouts of them. They're not really there.
They're like...
This was immensely interesting, really insightful. Kari, Jen, Ccyle, thank you so much. I definitely learned a ton from you. It was really, really interesting. I feel like I have a lot to think about, to process, and to also implement in the future.
Just remember one thing, that we're all learning. You know, it's a process, right? It's a practice, and we're all learning as we move forward in this world, right? So none of us are absolutely perfect. None of us have it right. So let's just strive to be better than we are.
So true. I think if you're willing to learn, then you're on the good path. It's so important.
Yeah. Always
Yeah.
try your best and be open for critique, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Don't take it personal. Critique is there to like help you to improve.
I
Yes,
totally agree. It's really about critique and being open-minded to getting honest feedback and working with honest feedback to developing as a character, as a man, as a woman, as whatever gender, whatever, as a person. And
As a person, yeah.
yeah, so I think we learned a lot about wording, especially that we don't have to say female artists because we have really strong and empowered tattoo artists as sponsored artists. And we're Cheyenne, we're really, really happy about that. And yeah, it was really great to talk with you.
You
Thank
too.
you so
And,
much for having us.
Thank
thank you so very much.
Thanks
Enjoyed
for
it.
being on the show. It was,
Thank
it was
you.
awesome. So if you have now any other cool topics on your mind that you would like to hear us talk about, just drop us a comment below. Until then, be kind and take care, and we would love to see you next time when we take a look beyond tattooing.